Buenas tardes, estamos aquí para un nuevo programa de Good People, de Feel Good TV. En esta ocasión hemos encontrado a esta pareja deambulando por las calles de Málaga y las hemos traído aquí para que nos cuenten un poquito de su historia. A mi lado tengo a Anya con Bremzen, que nació en Moscú en 1963. Antes de emigrar a los Estados Unidos, ella estuvo unos años viviendo con su madre en Moscú. Tuvo una experiencia que quizás sería la que cambiaría su forma de interpretar la vida más adelante, porque compartió cocina con 18 familias y eso es una experiencia que te marca. Quizá entonces entendió la importancia de compartir la forma de cocinar y de vivir. Anya es escritora gastronómica de alta cocina, colaboradora habitual de Food and Wine, Sabor y New Yorker. Ha ganado en 3 ocasiones el prestigioso premio James Beard, lo que sería equivalente al Oscar de la gastronomía, y como os he contado, está de visita en Málaga para que la conozcamos y aprovechamos para conocerla mejor. Anya.
Hola.
Hola. Hablas perfectamente español, pero yo te voy a preguntar en español y tú te sientes más cómoda en inglés.
Perfecto, gracias.
¿Naciste para escribir?
No, not at all. When I was young, in Moscow, I dreamt of being a famous pianist. I always wanted to play. And when we immigrated to America, to New York, I graduated from the most prestigious conservatory, the Juilliard School.
Oh my God.
I did my master's there. And that was my entire life. And then I had an injury to my hand. You know, just a normal professional thing. It's like being an athlete. And I had to think of something else to do, and it's just by accident I started writing about food. Could not imagine that this would be my life.
Destiny.
Yes.
So, Barry, are you going to dance a Sevillana for us tonight?
You know what? Not tonight.
Maybe tomorrow.
Another time, definitely.
Okay, next time you come tomorrow.
Sí.
La feria de Sevilla, ¿no?
Sí, possibilmente, sí, but every day in Sevilla is a failure.
It's true.
No,
The next title of your next book.
Every day in Sevilla is a failure. It's not, but it's a long title. But yes,
You have long titles in your books.
Sí. Okay.
Ok. Barry Yourgrau nació en Sudáfrica, actualmente vive entre Nueva York y Estambul. Es un viajero incansable. Hay una frase que le define perfectamente su literatura. No solamente por lo que dice la frase, sino por quién lo dice. David Byrne, el cantante, vocalista, ideólogo de Talking Heads, dice de los libros de Barry: nunca puedo recordar mis sueños, así que las historias del señor Yourgrau son un buen sustituto. Es escritor y también intérprete. Es autor de libros de historias surrealistas, divertidas e intensamente cortas, que ya nos explicará luego lo que significa esto. Incluyen A Man Jumps Out of the Airplane, Wearing Dad's Head, Haunted Traveler, The Sadness of Sex y una colección de historias breves de grandes escritores, noveles, cuya versión cinematográfica también fue protagonista una de ellas. Ha escrito un libro de memorias mes y cuentos antiniños para niños. Nasty Book. Nos lo tendrás que explicar todo esto. Barry es el único autor estadounidense que ha publicado ficción corta en teléfonos celulares japoneses. Esto sí que me lo tienes que contar porque lo leo pero no lo llego a entender. Su trabajo tiene mucha aceptación en Japón y como intérprete él y sus historias han aparecido en Unplugged, Spoken Word de MTV, Selected Shorts, All Things Considered de NPR y ganó un Dramalone Award por Wearing Dad's Head, the live version. Fue invitado a Sundance Theatre Lab para el taller Haunted Traveler y está orgulloso de protagonizar un videoclip del musical de heavy metal del grupo Anthrax. I want to see it. Las ficciones de Yourgrau han aparecido en New Yorker, Paris Review, Vice, Story, Bomb, Poetry y multitud de publicaciones. Y ha blogueado para Psychology Today. Barry, you have to tell us so many things. In South Africa, has geography influenced your writing or maybe the food?
Say, has being born in South Africa
Geography.
influenced my writing?
Yeah, or the food.
I never thought of it that way. Maybe, yes, in a certain way, because I wrote that book, Haunted Traveler, and it's about travel, but it's imaginary travel, but it's about someone who feels always rootless, yeah? Always not having a home. And I was born in South Africa, and then our family moved to America when I was 10 with my brothers and my parents. But we moved around a lot. So we always felt like outsiders, you know? So one of the things with traveling with Anya together, people say, oh, to Anya, you have the best job in the world, eating all that. And then they say, no, wait a minute, and they look at me, and they say, no, Barry has the best job because he doesn't have to write about it, he just goes and whatever. But we travel together, and it enables us to be, what I love about our traveling together, it enables us to go into a country or a city and really plunge, yeah, like head first into the local culture and experience kind of a different way of being, yeah. So it's a pleasure to be now in Malaga, even for a few days, and experience what Malaga has to offer at night. For me, I know Seville from a month there, and we travel a lot in Spain, but the Alma de Alegría that's here, maybe it's the playa, the sensibilidad de la playa or something, but it's wonderful. It really is, it's very special here, very, very special here.
Thank you. En tu primera novela cuentas la historia de la Rusia postrevolucionaria a través de recetas de cocina. Pero lo fascinante de tus novelas es que tu forma de escribir es muy literaria. No se trata solo de recetas de cocina, sino que narras una historia, o sea, la historia de Rusia en aquella época, a través de la comida, de las recetas con tu madre, ¿verdad?
Yes, it's not a novella, it's actually a memoir, so it's non-fiction. And until that I wrote cookbooks with recipes. I wrote 5 cookbooks on different countries, including Spain. I was the first person in America to write about Ferran Adrià, for example, so Spain was my big passion. But there were books with recipes, with a lot of culture and a lot of travel, but there were still books with recipes. This book, the last book about Russia, it's a memoir, and it's a history of the Soviet Union, of the Soviet experience, of what it was like to live in a totalitarian country, but told through food. And the idea was that my mother and I decided to cook through the entire 20th century in Russia. So the chapters go decade by decade, 1910, 1920, 1930, 1940, Stalin, Lenin, revolution, war, difficult things, but all told through recipes and cooking.
So interesting.
And through food.
I have read reviews of your books comparing you to Borges and Italo Calvino, two of my favorite writers. What do you think of this comparison?
Well, I'm very flattered that people would even mention that. For many years I avoided Borges because I didn't want to be over-influenced by him, and everybody else was reading him, so I thought I'll read someone else. And I've started reading him in the last few years, and I've really fallen in love with him. I think he's one of the great models and influences. Calvino I never read. No. But I understand what people have said about him. I've just started reading now Kafka. The trouble with reading a great writer is not only do you become immediately influenced by them, but then you just say, why am I writing? It's like artists who go to Italy and they say, I go to the Sistine Chapel or wherever, and I just say, what do I think I'm doing right? Excusez-moi. So, but yes, Borges is, I like to think my ambition is to write a combination of Borges and Woody Allen or Monty Python.
Good.
Yeah.
Anya, eres una viajera incansable. ¿Crees que se puede conocer la cultura de un pueblo a través de sus recetas de cocina?
For me, food is a real mirror in the history. I think just by recipes, maybe not. If you just say, put 2 liters of agua and 2 kilos of meat, maybe not. But if you have a lot of recipes together, I think you can tell a lot. I'm working now on a book about food and national identity. Because countries are very complicated. What is Spain? When did Spain become a nation? Was Spain during Reyes Católicos? How did Franco change? These things are very artificial and they're very constructed. We say Italian food, but there was no Italy until 1860s, until it unified. So countries change, nations change, and through the food and what they promote and how they present themselves, especially now that food is very popular, you can tell so much.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Barry, are you working on a new book?
Slowly. See, I've just published, during the pandemic, I actually was productive, very productive. So I did a little book that came out, both of these books have only come out in Japan. One was fables about the pandemic, because where we lived in New York was the center of the world, the worst place in the world for the pandemic at the beginning. Our barrio, it was super traumatic. So I wrote some stories about that. And then I also been writing monthly stories that were serialized in Japan about Tokyo, my portrait of Tokyo. So that has just come out this month in Tokyo. So, and now we're looking for the next thing to write about.
Anya, ¿qué piensas de la comida, de los cultivos transgénicos y de la comida rápida? ¿Nos van a salvar de algo?
It's a complicated question. I think we have a fantasy that we can grow all our food and everything will be perfect. But it's a fantasy. The Green Revolution, that made the agriculture industrial, it saved millions of lives. And I think it's maybe unrealistic to expect that we're going to grow everything. It's a fantasy of rich people. For instance, transgénicos, they are being rehabilitated. There's a new important book that my publisher is publishing saying that there's nothing wrong with them if they're used correctly. I think what's important is to label. The problem is the absence of labeling. We need to know what we're eating, and if it's transgénico. But I think we need to have a compromise. What the activism is doing today is just forcing the big bad companies to be more transparent. We want McDonald's to be transparent. We want Monsanto to be transparent. They will not be. They're horrible, evil companies, but at least we need to push them in that direction. And the movement, the activism against transgenics, against fast food, has been very successful. So I hope they keep pushing. Maybe the fantasy is not realistic, but I think there have been very good results.
Esta pregunta está relacionada con la anterior porque me gustaría saber si sabes de alguna manera en que podamos comer saludable y al mismo tiempo seguir intentando mantener nuestro planeta y no abusar de él.
But the two are connected because eating healthy and saving the planet, what is good for you is good for the planet. Of course we have to eat less red meat. I mean, this is terrible, terrible for the planet, and you really don't need it as a person. We need to care where we buy from. We need to know about our farmers, who is selling us. We need to support small agriculture. And again, it's much easier to eat an organic apple than a Monsanto apple. So I think the two go. The people who care about the planet usually care about themselves. We just need more people to care.
¿COVID o metaverso?
Pardon?
Metaverso.
Metaverses?
The new idea of Zuckerberg for doing this meta-universe.
Oh, I see. Oh, jeepers. No, you mean like Zuckerberg? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
No, but it was interesting for me. Shall I answer this?
Yeah.
What was very interesting for me was this, is that often my work, even though it's funny, deals with trauma, yeah? Heartbreak, familia, whatever. but always looking back, right? Like after it happened, looking back. But for these stories, and there were only like a dozen of them, they came out in a very small book. For these stories, I wrote in the middle of the trauma.
Okay.
So they were like newspaper bulletins, dispatches from the actual event. And that for me was a huge change because it was such a traumatic time. And it was one of the ways I dealt with the fact that we were just in a state of anxiety and terror because we didn't know what we were dealing with. And you know, it was really scary where we were in New York, other places too, but for us, for that month, it was, so this really helped.
That's why I think we have to write. That's the reason, main reason, no?
Yes.
So,
So tell me about your video with Anthrax.
say it again?
Your
Video
with
with
Anthrax.
Anthrax?
With Anthrax. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was Amtrak, which is the railway. It's like the, it's like the train.
After
the
calling
train network.
Anthrax.
I thought video with Anthrax.
You did a video with COVID and now one with Anthrax?
See, I had done a little video of one of my stories for MTV, and the director who was a big music video director, and he makes films out too. The band Anthrax, I never heard of the band. I don't listen to heavy metal, but said we want to make a video of this song called Black Lodge, which is you can find it on MTV, and we want to shoot it as a little movie. So the director said, "Will you be in the movie?" So I said, "Sure." So it was fantastic.
Good.
It was really fantastic.
Because you're also an actor.
See, I've done some acting, and I did a film version where I starred in of The Sadness of Sex movie, which became The Sadness of Making Movies. But that's another story. We don't have time.
¿De dónde viene tu pasión, tu amor por la cocina española, hispánica, paladares, the New Spanish Table, fiesta? Una pasión tuya.
The first time I came to Spain in 1982, I think, or in 84, it was still the movida. The Franco just died, and you felt that, you know, some excitement in the air. And I just fell in love with the traditions and with the depth of the connection to the past. And then I met Ferran Adrià, and it really changed my professional life. I cannot tell you now everyone cooks like this, but in 1996 when I first went to Albury, it was a complete revolution. I felt like I discovered something from a different planet, and then I saw how much it influenced the cuisines all over, especially chefs de alta cocina, and also because I speak Spanish. I learned Spanish in Russia as a child. I like the whole Hispanic world,
Yeah.
and there's such rich tradition.
¿Por qué estás en Málaga? ¿Estás trabajando en un nuevo proyecto para que hable de nosotros o que hable de España?
I hope so. We spent a month in Sevilla, and we know Andalusia very well and like it very much. But Malaga, I've only been 25 years ago, and I hear so many amazing things about all the new museums and the Ciudad Marchosa, and I thought we had to visit.
¿Es real o no?
Oh, it's amazing. It's even better. It's even better. We were like, wow,
Good.
this is fantastic.
So
We
you have
really
to
fell
come
in
back.
love. Yes, we'll have to come back.
You like Malaga? Do you think we have good surrealist potential to inspire your new book?
See. First of all, I like Malaga. I really like Malaga. As they say in the movies, no, I really like you. So I really like Malaga. And I think, as I say, the playa gives this extra dimension to all the wonderful history here of, you know, Spain has such intense, different angles of its history and different things going through that it's a fantastic place. We'll see. I can't tell whether I'll be using it or whatever, but there's certainly material there.
Anya, ¿te gusta más escribir o cocinar?
Hoy cocinar. Cocinar es un placer, escribir es una tortura. No, cocinar, sí, por supuesto.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ti.
Hola, somos alumnos del Colegio Alborán, de segundo de bachillerato, y tenemos una serie de preguntas. Mi nombre es Alba y mi pregunta es, ¿crees que viajar ha contribuido en gran medida a tus obras y a tu forma de ver el mundo?
Has travel influenced my writing? Yes, I'm a travel writer. For my journalism, I write about travel. And for my book, the memoir, it was kind of travel back in time. So, plus I made 6 cookbooks that are all about different cultures. So yeah, travel is fundamental, and that's really what moves me and makes me tick.
Hola, soy Claudia y me interesaría saber qué significa para ti escribir.
Question number 2, what does writing mean to me? I would say that writing is the way I complete myself psychologically. Yeah? It makes me whole psychologically. I need it psychologically, and it's also the way I take revenge on the world and on life. So.
Hola, me llamo Alexia y mi pregunta es, ¿has plasmado en alguna de tus obras tu experiencia cinematográfica? Y si es así, ¿en cuál?
Question 1, about whether I thought of using other media beside the literary. Yes, of course. I mean, absolutely. Performing my work, me on stage or whatever, performing my work in front of an audience in a club or a cabaret or such has always been, or a little theater, has always been, it completes the work for me. As a matter of fact, it's one of my favorite things to do in life, is to appear in a small club, intimately in front of an audience. I also, like to do a film when I can. I did a film of The Sadness of Sex, my book starring me, as a kind of on film, a live performance, dramatized a bit, and on MTV, videos, whatever. But yes, absolutely, performing my work myself completes the work for me. It's not just on the page.
Hola, me llamo Lucía y mi pregunta es, ¿cuál es tu obra favorita o de la que te sientas más orgulloso y por qué?
Hard to say which is my favorite, but I would say probably my book Wearing Dad's Head, not Wearing Dad's Hat, Wearing Dad's Head, which is about family and myself. It's a portrait of my family, but an internal portrait, yeah?
Hola, soy Vicky y me gustaría saber si te inspiras en algo de tu vida personal a la hora de escribir tus obras.
Yes, but emotionally, not in a realistic way. But sometimes I take experiences that have happened to me and I transform them or transpose them as something else. But the emotion is authentic. So, in other words, the things that happen in my stories are fantastical or dreamlike, like invented dreams. I don't use my dreams. But the emotions that are the source of them, that they're about, are real, are authentic. They're kind of an emotional, psychological diary, if you will, like dreams are. Yeah?
Soy Salva. ¿Te has planteado pasarte a otros medios, no solo literarios, para expresar tu obra?
Have I thought about using other media to express my work? I used to be a concert pianist. I played the piano as a child until I was 20. So writing was a change for me, and I think I'm just going to stay there. I don't like to turn to other media.
Hola, somos Paula, Héctor y Cristina.
Muchas gracias por vuestro tiempo y por responder nuestras preguntas.
Un saludo de parte del Colegio Alborán.